It does not begin with the fall of Reach, nor with the glassing of Harvest. It begins with silence. Worlds once scorched and ruined breathe again. Molten crust cools. Cities rise from the ashes into shining skylines. And millions of lost lives stand again in streets and homes. Their last moments rewound into laughter, commerce and peace. The fleets withdraw, ship by ship. Plasma torpedoes sliding back into their launchers. Railgun slugs leaping back into barrels. Battle groups reassemble, wreckage coalescing into proud formations, returning to the dockyards and shipyards whole. From the outer colonies, evacuations unhappen. Refugees step backward into transports and then return home. The great diaspora of war collapses into stable settlement. The Covenant's holy wrath evaporates. Their declarations of humanity's heresy are swallowed by silence, words unspoken, their fleets retreating into slipspace, never to appear. Contact itself unravels, Sangheili voices distort into static, and then dissolve into nothing. The warning that humanity is an affront to their gods is never uttered. The glassing of Harvest never begins. The battle of Harvest unwinds, the first shots are unfired. The blood of humanity's first contact flows backward into their soldiers' veins. The colony remains untouched, fields green and abundant, its people never knowing what stood at their doorstep. And further still, the probes sent outward from Harvest soil unlaunch. The signals vanish into silence, and humanity's hand reaches not into the dark. Slipspace itself closes. The vast gulf between stars becomes impassable again. There is no spark of war, no fire of glassed worlds, no empire bent on annihilation. There is only peace, fragile and whole. A human frontier, curious and unbroken. A galaxy where two civilizations never meet, and so never burn. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Installation 00. The beating heart of Halo's story surrounds humanity's struggle against the implacable alien foe known as the Covenant. We first joined the story in the final months of that war, and the games have only very tentatively covered the events that led to the events we witness in the game. But what events ultimately led to this nearly 3-decade-long war of genocide? Well, today we're going to find out by following the events backwards to their source, in what I'm calling Halo Told Backwards. When the single biggest mobilization of the UNSC Navy in history took place, with the 40-warship-strong battle group X-Ray led by Vice Admiral Preston Cole, arrived near Harvest in the Epsilon Indi system on March 1st, 2526, the fleet would move below the orbital plane of Harvest and detect a single Covenant superdestroyer in orbit near the planet. An intense battle would ultimately take place, concluding with the destruction of the Covenant superdestroyer, but the destruction of 13 UNSC warships. Cole would briefly return to Earth, where he would be promoted to Admiral and be given control of a large portion of the UNSC fleet, while the UNSC and ONI Strategic Response Unit announced to the rest of humanity that first contact with an alien race had been made, had immediately turned hostile, but due to the triumphant efforts of Cole and his battle fleet, a victory had been won during these opening hostilities, and that humanity were officially at war.
Back from this, Cole had reviewed numerous, still highly classified reports from the Covenant encounters at Harvest and Chi Seti 4. From this, he determined that getting past the Covenant's immensely powerful energy shielding technology would prove to be their biggest challenge. He was given charge of the Valiant-class super heavy cruiser, the UNSC Everest, and once ordering numerous modifications to the ship and ensuring his crew were battle-tested and competent, the AI Sekhmet was assigned to the Everest and the fleet departed for Harvest, preparing to engage the same force that had destroyed all but one of Battle Group 4. The CMA Heracles limped back to Reach on November the 1st, 2525, having been deployed with the rest of Battle Group 4 several weeks earlier. The ship was heavily damaged and the crew brought stories not of insurrectionist forces, but of a sleek, unidentified vessel of alien origin. Having arrived in the system on October 7th, long-range sensor contact was made with an unknown ship. The battle group moved in and attempted communication in a first contact scenario. The vessel broadcast a reply message in humanity's own language. Your destruction is the will of the gods, and we are their instrument. The following attack lasted 14 seconds and resulted in the destruction of the CMA Arabia and Vostok and heavy damage to the Heracles that was ultimately forced to retreat. The Heracles and Battle Group 4 wouldn't have been there in the first place, however, if it wasn't for the scout ship, the CMA Argo. The Argo was sent to Harvest to investigate the colony as all contact from Harvest had abruptly stopped. Suspecting an insurrectionist incursion, the scout ship arrived in the system on April the 20th to a horrifying scene. The surface of the fertile world of Harvest was on fire. Burned and broken, a vitrified, carbonized, obsidian black, glassy surface with streaks of molten rock shone back at them. The AI Mac attempted to warn the Argo of an enemy presence, but it was ultimately futile. The scout ship managed to send a single signal before being destroyed by the Covenant ship, the Rapid Conversion. The Rapid Conversion would leave the system shortly afterward, following being relieved by the Super Destroyer that was ordered into position to remain in system to face any future investigation parties. Harvest's surface had been glassed. The Rapid Conversion had rained down plasma bombardment on its surface for months of uninterrupted glassing. The ship had been repaired following damage taken by Harvest's mass driver. The colony's human population had evacuated to the Tiara, an orbital station tethered to Harvest's surface via 7 space elevators. The colonists had boarded numerous freight containers that had been expertly moved up the elevators to awaiting freighters, all by the AI known as Sif, and the freighters then navigated into slipspace on vectors bound for other UNSC colonies. The Tiara, however, was no longer in position. Having been hit by the mass driver on the planet's surface, Sif's data center had been destroyed by the actions of the AI Loki, thereby denying the aliens any data that may reveal the location of other colonies, and the station had tumbled from orbit and been buried by the colony's complement of Jotun combine harvesters under the control of the AI Mac, which had ultimately been subsumed by the glassing beam of the Rapid Conversion. The evacuation itself was triggered when the Rapid Conversion moved in from orbit and began attacking Gladsheim. The residents had ignored warnings to evacuate to Harvest's capital of Utgard, believing that the remote town couldn't possibly be a target. Many died as Gladsheim was destroyed by the Rapid Conversion's heavy plasma cannons. The AI Loki used the planet's mass driver to damage the ship, causing the ship to fall from the sky and crash into Harvest's surface. With the sky suddenly clear, the freight containers holding the residents of Harvest began rising on the space elevators to the Tiara. This enraged the Jiralhanae known as Tartarus, who promptly executed Captain Ponder and returned to the damaged ship that was now in the early stages of being repaired. On board, he confronted his uncle, the leader of the Jiralhanae, and challenged him to mortal combat for the right to lead the brutes, and ultimately won. The Harvest Militia would prepare to engage alien forces as they boarded the Tiara. One of the space elevators would collapse, killing 20,000 evacuees. Tartarus would arrive on the Tiara and attack the militia, led by Julian Alsigny and Sergeant Avery Johnson. Tartarus would prove to be a dangerous enemy and would be about to kill them when an Ungoy by the name of Dadab, angered by the loss of his only friends at the hands of the drones under the orders of Tartarus, fired his plasma pistol into Tartarus's back, damaging his energy shields. Tartarus executed Dadab, but was ultimately forced to retreat to his dropship and return to the rapid conversion. The Tiara had detected the rapid conversion entering the system in the first place on long-range sensors on February 3rd. The ship moved into high orbit. On board, the Jiralhanae crew of the ship noted the ship's luminary was showing the planet's surface rich in Forerunner relics. The alien crew boarded a flight of dropships to the surface to meet with human occupants of the world. The meeting went south when an Ungoy attacked one of the humans. A brief skirmish broke out, resulting in several deaths and numerous injuries on both sides. The two parties retreated from the area, with the Harvest Militia and the human representatives beginning to implement plans for evacuation, and the Jiralhanae-led alien crew returning to their ship for further instruction from High Charity. The leader of the Jiralhanae, a brute by the name of Maccabeus, sent a message to the Vice Minister of Tranquility to inform him of their discoveries. The Vice Minister ordered Maccabeus and his crew to exterminate the human colonists immediately. The Vice Minister of Tranquility, alongside the Minister of Fortitude, had met with the philologist aboard the Forerunner dreadnought at the centre of High Charity. Here, the oracle within the ship, a fragment of the Forerunner AI known as Mendicant Bias, had informed the three of their millennia-long mistranslation of a Forerunner symbol. The symbol did not mean reclamation, suggesting the relics for the members of the Covenant to reclaim as rightful heirs to the Forerunner legacy, but instead meant reclaimers. Indeed, the symbol represented his creators, the Forerunners themselves. These three Sanshayim were witness to the shattering of the lie that had founded the Covenant some 3,000 years prior. These three realized that the faith of the Covenant, the power they pursued, would ultimately fall if the truth was ever discovered. They all made a pact of silence in this moment and concluded their plans of political dissent and seizure of the apex positions within the High Council. These three would go on to become the prophets of truth, mercy, and regret. The ones who learned that their gods were still alive, and yet chose to exterminate them anyway. And that is how the Human Covenant War got started in reverse. This is a very different format to what I would normally do, but I thought it'd be interesting to try out. If you enjoyed it and want more, put suggestions below on what you'd like me to cover next, and I'll see what I can do. If not, I'm happy to just chalk this up to a trial. Until next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, kindly tap that like button, and if you're not already subscribed and want to see more stuff like this, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future uploads. Pop a comment down below telling me what you thought of today's video, or if you want me to cover something specific in the near future. I want to take this opportunity to thank and give shoutouts to my patrons and YouTube supporters: Spartan10148, my singular Contender class Ancilla, the triumvirate of minds within my installations Metarch, Falcon, Jordan, and Poseidon, my 7 installation monitors Selphia, Ashley, Esoteric, Spartan1029, Chris, Orion, and Shane, the crush of sub-monitors Legion, Ryan, Lebrat, Spartan0137, Element 0, J3, Cult, Evermores, Personal Devil, Scion Esports, Phantasma, Ashton, and 191 Shaken Lightbulb, my fleet of Strato Sentinels, my most loyal of Enforcers, and every single one of the awesome people supporting the channel over on Patreon. My Tier 0 Transcendent YouTube members, Spartan137, again, Maury, Jimbo and Balaz, and all other YouTube members keeping my installation functional on that glorious vacuum energy. I cannot thank you all enough. Shout out to John because... And if you like what I'm doing here, consider supporting the channel on one of the support links in the description to net yourself some tasty merch and help keep the channel going. Take it easy everyone, and find peace in the domain.